Trustees to order. Will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you all very much. We will start with mayoral appointments, so I will turn this over to our village administrator, Scott Russell.
Resolved that the Board of Trustees approves the hiring of the 2026 seasonal police officers for 20 hours a week, and that is effective date of April 15, 2026. And be it further resolved that the seasonal police officers will transition to 40 hours a week effective May 15, 2026. Seasonal police officers are Tiernan Imprimo and Jolyn Bezubek, and that would be both at $27 an hour.
So I will make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we will go to public hearings. And the first public hearing is a local law amending Chapter A122, the Village Code, regarding outdoor sidewalk dining rules and regulations by annexing rules and regulations. I actually think I'm going to turn this over to Rob Coburn, as he worked on this. But at this time, we will open the public hearing for any and all that would like to speak on this.
Let me just give a little primer. We've had rules and regulations in the code before. The attempt here was to make a couple things a little clearer, and particularly to beef up two things that we've had comments about in the past. One is to ensure that there's a 3-foot walkway clear from the curb to any furniture, umbrella stands, et cetera, so that people can get safely off the road when they come out of their cars. And the second is to make sure that the areas, the service areas that these restaurants used are cleaned regularly so there's not a buildup of grease or food debris. Most of them are good about that. There's a couple who are not, but we're codifying that. The regulations already had a requirement for a clear open area. I think it's 5 feet wide. So these rules have been in place. It's a small beef up of them just to try to ensure public safety. That's the purpose of them.
There's also one change that we made after the notice of public hearing last month, and that is it just changes the authority to issue the license from the village clerk to the to code enforcement.
Right.
Because they're the ones that do all the work anyway.
They do the work. They're in touch with the restaurants. Thanks, Eileen, for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
Okay, if there's no one in the room, I'll go to Sage and see if there's anyone on Zoom that would like to speak on this topic. No hands. Okay, all right. Well, I guess we can close this.
I'll just
God,
mention,
let's go.
we did have a letter, an expression of concern from one of the restaurant owners in the village, basically saying they thought the current rules work well. But frankly, I think the changes we're making would have no impact on the way they've operated in the past. So just wanted to acknowledge that we'd seen that feedback and feel it's important, particularly with respect to this 3-foot walkway for 1 or 2 operators in the village to make sure that that's understood and enforced. That's it.
Well,
All right.
and also to point out, Trustee Coburn, that in the event that somebody does get injured because of the chairs being too close to the road or whatever, it's not just the restaurant's issue, it's the village's issue.
Correct.
And we want to protect the village's interests in that case as well.
Thanks.
Thank you, Trustee Stevenson. All right, so I'll make a motion to close this public hearing on local law from amending Chapter A122. Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll now open the next public hearing. This is the 2026-2027 tentative operating and capital budget review. So I will make a motion to open this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So I see Julie's in the room. Julie, do you want to say anything about the budget? We did release this at the last meeting, but this is now the public hearing. So if anyone would like to speak on the budget, they may do so. But Julie, I'd just ask if you have anything you'd like to add.
So the tax rate is still the 21.77, and it's still only a moderate 88 cents increase. So nothing else has really changed from the tentative. Yep.
Okay.
So the same.
Excellent. All right. So members of the public are allowed to come forward and speak on the budget at this time. Sage, do we have anyone on Zoom that would like to speak on the budget? Okay, well, we're not going to vote on this tonight, but I think we will close this public hearing on the budget for 2026-27. So I'll make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Village updates. We're going to go first to Trustee Zananti, who wants to talk about the Skip the Stuff legislation.
Yes, Trustee Coburn and I are both liaisons to the Environmental and Sustainability Committee, and they were in touch with Surfrider and other groups and are endorsing the Skip the Stuff. And just as a reminder, Skip the Stuff is basically giving customers the option of taking plastic forks and spoons and ketchups and mayonnaises rather than automatically putting that stuff in a bag for a takeout order. One of the members of the committee, Katie Shaw, actually walked around to a number of local restaurants to find out if they provide the stuff or if they ask about providing the stuff. And very interestingly, she got 17 answers, 8 of whom provide it just because, and 9 of whom ask whether or not customers want it. So it's kind of an interesting dilemma. I mean, it obviously would be in the business's interest to not spend the extra money if customers don't want the stuff. But what I thought was that we would discuss it tonight and get a sense of the board whether or not we should legislate this or not, or what short of legislation could we do to deal with this interesting issue. I don't know, Trustee Coburn, did you want to say anything as a
I'll just
co-liaison?
add in, and we heard this in the presentation from Surfrider at our last meeting, at our work session. A large percentage of this stuff ends up in the trash. And for takeout orders and people eating outdoors, a lot of it actually ends up in the environment, and through various means, a lot of it ends up in the ocean. So it turns out that plastic forks and ketchup packets and things like that make up an outsized portion of what washes up on beaches and what sits in the ocean. So that's the primary purpose. I would just say I've also spoken, not 17, as Katie Shaw did, but with 3 restaurant owners here in town, 2 of whom said they did it already, but even one of those said, I need to check with my staff and make sure we are asking. Because the response from all 3 of them was, well, this would save me money. And this would also save some valuable real estate in my restaurant right near the door, where they want to keep menus and lost and found items, and also want to keep it neat. So there seemed to be a pretty good receptivity to the concept. And as Trustee Zananti has said, the fair question is, I think we'd like to make a statement on it, and the committee would like us to make a statement on it. Is that a statement, is that in the form of legislation, or is it in the form of some other resolution or encouragement for village businesses to participate?
Again, my own personal small survey, again, not 17 places, but the sense I got was, why legislate this? It's hard to enforce it, and it would be onerous anyway. So anyway, that was.
And last quick thing that I would just throw in is that the online food ordering apps that people use, Uber Eats and DoorDash, in most urban areas have made it a requirement to put this, before you can check out, says, do you need condiments or dinnerware utensils? They haven't rolled that out nationally, but the pressure is sort of coming. So in addition to it seeming like local businesses want to do this, there may be, if they want to participate in these as providers to these apps, which almost all of them do, they may need to do it sooner rather than later anyway. So the question is it a carrot or a stick, or a combination of both here to change this behavior?
Trustee Simeoni, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, I mean, this is very interesting. I agree with trustees and Auntie that to legislate would be even difficult to be able to even control it. But I think an education process, something that we can inform the food services that this is important and they should be participating, and maybe even have a decal or something saying that we are for the environment or whatever. I think that would go a long ways versus doing legislation.
Thank you. Trustee Stevenson, do you have anything
Yeah,
about
I'm
that?
in full agreement with that consensus, that anything even incrementally that we can do to stop waste and stop plastics from getting into our environment, we should endorse and encourage and be behind. That said, our code enforcement officers have enough to do keeping up with the code they're already trying to enforce, going around looking to see whether a restaurant is putting a fork in a bag, and then having, to deal with the issue of what do you do if you find out it's, enforcing that law would be very, very cumbersome, I think. So I think we should come out in favor. I think we should do whatever we can to support and educate, as Trustee Simeone said, but legislation that is difficult and onerous to enforce, I think just makes the village's laws even more cumbersome.
No, I think we can definitely put together a letter that is sent to all of the dining establishments in the village, especially those that do have takeout services, urging them to please not make the utensils and other things available unless, upon request. And I think I like Trustee Simeone's idea of maybe giving a decal on the window, that we skip the stuff or something. And I think we can probably do a lot, especially since half of them seem to be already doing it. It's just winning the other half over. So anyway.
I know this isn't a public hearing, but I'm just, if you don't mind, I'm curious if there's anyone here who has thoughts on this or wants to weigh in with short notice.
I knew you were going to say something, Mackie.
Any plastic we can get rid of, we have to do everything we can. Let's face it, most laws are unenforceable.
Yeah.
I mean, just go on the highway and see who's driving at the speed limit. So if we said, we'd have nothing. It'd just be chaos all the time. So at least that you have the law, and then you can talk about it, and then the people who are for it can talk to the owners of the restaurants. It's a hell. We have to do. I mean, we're drowning in plastic. We have to do everything we can. We have to stop with the excuses.
Thank you, Mackie. Thank you. All right. I think we should move on to the next update. This is Cooper's Beach. Trustee Coburn is a liaison to Cooper's Beach, so I'm going to let him start here.
Thanks, Mayor Manger, and you had a big hand in this as well. But just an update on some work that's going on there. We mentioned that we were extending the deck a little bit, the main deck at the Cooper's Beach Dining Pavilion. And then in conjunction with that, we have ordered new shower towers, additional shower towers, so there's going to be more overhead showers and more foot wash showers. And we're rebuilding that whole area with a raised deck so that it won't flood the way it has, so that there's more space generally, and some benches for people to sit as their people in their parties are rinsing off, and places to put bags and towels as they do that. So it's just going to be a nice upgrade to that entrance to Cooper's Beach, and that work is expected to be done before Memorial Day.
And do you want to talk at all about renewing the contract with Mr. Betts to provide the concession there, and maybe some new rules?
Well, not so much about renewing, but sure. The owner of the concession down there, which is John Betts, who runs Shippey's, they've run for the last 2 summers, the food establishment there, has come to the mayor and me asking about some modifications possibly to their hours of operation. Currently, they are licensed to operate from 9 to 6 p.m., and then on Saturdays and Sundays, they're licensed to operate until 7. That's what the lease allows. The lease also allows us to modify it in writing if we want to. And he's come back and requested 2 modifications. The first is that, and he may have been in violation of the lease, but I don't think anyone really objected, but he served breakfast last year. He'd like to serve breakfast starting at 7:30. There's a small group of local residents who go down there once or twice or 3 times a week and have coffee and sit on the deck and watch the ocean in the morning, which is seems like a nice amenity. And there's an awful lot of people, workers and tradespeople, working in the area who stop in there as well. So he's requested to open as early as 7:30, 7 days a week, to be able to serve breakfast. He's also requested to stay open an hour later every night. And then, but to more than that, to actually go to 8 o'clock, his request was Thursday nights through Sunday nights, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He has music on 1 or 2 nights of that week, live music for people to come down and have a bite or a drink and listen to music by the beach. We haven't had complaints about it in the past. I think the mayor and I share a concern that, we want some boundaries on this, and that 4 nights a week till 8 o'clock might be a little much, at least to start with, if there were adverse consequences. I think the consensus we're sort of coming to, and definitely want the thoughts and input from other board members, is to allow him to serve breakfast, to open at 7:30 legally under the lease, to serve breakfast 7 days a week. And then perhaps to extend every night till 7, which means Monday through, right now Monday through Friday would be extended from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then allow 2 nights a week to stay open till 8 o'clock. I think our proposal, I'm pretty sure he's going to want Sunday night, because that's when he has particularly
Very
featured
popular.
live music,
Yeah.
and it's very popular. There aren't a lot of other things going on in the village. And then one other night, which could be Thursdays apparently have been popular for him, but it could be any of the other nights of the week. What we want to make sure doesn't happen, and we don't have reason to believe it will, but it's possible, is that there gets to be a large crowd and the music gets a little louder, and 4 nights a week we've got people who are trying to more quietly enjoy the beach, or neighbors nearby saying, why am I hearing music at 8 p.m.? So
Is it going to be the same 2 nights in the contract?
it would be the same 2 nights in the
He
contract.
picks it, and then we
He
go.
Yeah.
picks it, but it would be the same 2 nights. What I think put out as at least an initial proposal is to allow the breakfast service, to extend every night by an hour, but then separately to extend 2 nights a week till 8 o'clock for the month of July. And I would further say, let's give the mayor discretion based on any input or comments or feedback he gets to extend that through Labor Day, or to cancel it as of July 31st. If something's going off the rails, he can modify or reduce those terms in his discretion.
Excuse me, when would this begin?
It would, so, thank you, Len. This would be, the demand really isn't there, frankly, until July. So he's asked for it to start July 1st.
The hours and the music?
The hours and the music would start July 1st. He wants to also staff up, and it's not worth it before then for him to do so. So it would be for July, and then as of, by July 20th, let's say, or another date we pick, but he wants a little bit of notice, which is reasonable, if we're going to shut him down or modify it, to let him know that we either are extending that through Labor Day, or we're canceling or reducing in some way.
And is he going to be permitted to open on the weekends if the board votes to extend the summer, like they've done the last couple of years? You've extended the
summer lease.
lifeguarding at
The
Cooper's.
lifeguarding.
Well, that's a different topic, and I think we'd have to address that with Matt Weeks,
But whether Cooper's, the concession is open when the beach is open?
I think if we extended the beach, I would personally just say, let's at the same time, if it's going well, let's extend his hours of operation as well, and maybe handle that
I
at
mean,
the
yeah,
same
I
time.
mean,
So we can just put
sticker-
in the contract that if the beach is extended, then
Yeah,
he's extended?
stickers are
Okay.
valid down there until September 15th. And so you usually get a couple of weekends there at the beginning of September when there still is a
Right.
lot of activity
Okay.
down there. So we could certainly look at that.
We
yes.
could make our provision, at least as a starting point, maybe leave it at that, to say the month of July, extendable by the mayor till September 15th,
Okay.
with reductions if necessary,
But
or as.
the only thing I want to be sure about is, though, that the nights, again, that he's open later, there has to be garbage pickup by the concession
Okay.
tenant, because we don't want people arriving the next morning early and finding all this debris down at the beach. It needs to be cleaned up, after these evenings when it's open late.
And one other,
And that's
just
not the responsibility of the village
Right.
at that point.
one other small note, and it's really on his customers and it's their risk, but we want to ask him to remind breakfast arrivers that as of 9 o'clock, if they plan to stay past 9 o'clock, they need a pass, either a seasonal pass or a daily pass to remain in the parking lot, or they risk being ticketed.
And he should definitely skip the stuff.
And he should skip the stuff, yes. I don't know, what do other members of the board think?
I think it's actually a pretty good idea. It's an amenity for either residents or visitors, or I think it's really a positive, suggestion.
Roy, do you have any opinion?
I think it's a great idea to allow our people to enjoy that wonderful facility for a greater period of time. I do think it's, we have a contractual agreement with Mr. Betts, and by doing this, it ideally is going to increase his revenue, and I think the village in some way should share in that. Maybe this could be a trial to see how it goes, but I know we're talking about extending the contract going forward, and some of the conversations we've had with him, he wants to see revenue sharing included, and I think this would be a good place to start with that, just to have some sort of quid pro quo.
This will have to go out to bid, a new contract next year.
Next year, yeah.
There was
For
only
this
one
year-
permitted extension.
For this year, I don't think we can change, unfortunately.
No, exactly, though, this would be just a good trial to see
Right.
how much his revenue increases.
Okay, and anyone else want to say anything more about that?
Perfectly fine with me.
Okay, so, Rob, you want to reach out to
I'll reach out to
and-
John Betts
and talk to him about
finalize.
what we discussed?
Well,
They do also, as you probably know, have the concert in the park down at Cooper's Beach one
One
night,
night,
one
yeah.
Wednesday in July and one Wednesday in August.
Yeah.
So that would obviously be included.
And I suppose then what we would do is, I'll talk to John Betts, and then we'd come back for a
I
resolution,
was
maybe
gonna
at the
say,
work
you have to
session.
write one right now for tonight, or we just do it next
We'll
week?
do it at the
We
work
can do
session, I
work
think is
session.
fine.
Yeah.
To,
I mean,
as
it's
a-
not open yet, so,
Yeah.
yeah,
I'll work with you, Eileen.
yeah.
Thanks.
That'll be done in plenty of time for the opening, and right now, there's a lot of construction going on down there with the new decking. All right, so, were there any other updates anyone wanted to discuss?
Just want to talk about Coopers and Halsey, that we'll talk about it?
Oh, yeah, we could talk about it now. So there was a resident of Halsey who was concerned about the speed of cars transiting that road. And so there actually is one speed hump closer to Hill Street. He asked if we could do that or have a stop sign closer to the north end. I did speak to our fire chief. He was opposed to putting a speed hump in because he said it actually does make it difficult and slightly dangerous when they're racing to a fire to have the trucks go over speed humps. I asked him about a stop sign. He said that they would be fine with that. I then spoke to our chief, Hertel, about putting a stop sign at the intersection of White Street and Halsey. Right now, there's only one stop sign coming from White onto Halsey. The recommendation is to make it a three-way stop so that you couldn't be racing through that intersection. And we have noticed people who think that the stop sign on White Street is just a suggestion, and they seem to continue to race through that intersection. So what I would ask, again, our capable attorney to do is for the work session, have a notice of public hearing prepared for the May meeting. And then if we have the public hearing on May 14th, we can actually approve it that night, and it will be in place for Memorial Day. So that's pretty quick for getting a stop sign up.
If I just add in, I had a informal discussion with our traffic consultant, so this is not an opinion from them. He said they're available to give a formal opinion if they want, but he frankly also said he didn't think it was necessary. But the consensus among him and Chief Hurto is that there are two benefits here. One would be to slow down the through traffic on Halsey, some of which goes 40 to 45 miles an hour or more. And we did have a bike fatality in that area about 5 or 6 years ago. And it will help reduce this roll-through, the suggestion effect of the stop sign on White's Lane. White's Lane is a big bypass for afternoon commute. It's part of the clever people trying to find different ways to get westward in the village in the afternoon commute. So there's an awful lot of people who roll through there, and the feeling is that the three-way stop sign will help both those conditions.
Actually, I think it's a really good idea. I live in
You live on White Street.
And I'm not one of the ones that races through
Good,
the stop
good.
sign. But the problem is, when you even get to the stop sign, you cannot really see cars coming.
Yeah.
And sometimes
Yeah.
they come in
We-
pretty
We
fast.
talked about moving the stop bar and the stop sign, so
Yeah.
there's greater visibility.
So I think it's a great idea to put a stop sign, though, because at that point, I stop, they stop, they look at each other
Yeah.
and decide who's going to go.
Right,
So I
right.
think it's a good idea.
Any update on the speed camera that we talked about at the last meeting, and being able to monitor people rolling through the stop signs?
Oh, well, that, we had sent that home rule legislation up to Albany to again, our assemblyman and state senator, and they are putting it before the both houses up there, and we're hoping that they will get it approved, and the governor will sign it, and we'll be able to do that.
Yeah.
And it's a
great.
little bit sneaky, but I did talk to the chief about that, Trustee Stevenson, and those 3 stop sign intersections in that area, Prospect and Halsey, White Street and Halsey, and Armand and Halsey, are among the worst roll-through stop sign offense areas in the village. So any one of them would be good candidates for a stop sign camera when we have that enabled.
Okay, all right, so I think that's enough on the updates. I'm going to turn back to our village administrator to talk about correspondence to the board.
For correspondence from Jeff Bloom, who has frustrations and concerns with reference to including the dog park into the sewage treatment plant construction, and asks for county and health experts to weigh in on the health impact. Correspondence from Rich Delaquila, who I think this might have just been resolved, which is concerns with reference to the Halsey Street safety,
Yep.
particularly for bike riders, and suggests a 3-way stop sign at White and Halsey and a speed bump along the north stretch of Halsey. Megan Magyar for the Lake Agawam Conservancy. In an effort to preserve the water, the village must install a sewage treatment facility. Believes that the property at 135 Windmill Lane as a new home for the dog park is supportive, and talks about the toxic levels of Lake Agawam and the necessity for the sewage treatment facility. Correspondence from Jason Berg, who supports the cleanup of Lake Agawam. Lake Agawam does raise some concerns with reference to the dog park as utilization in that plan. Also would like more information to the public, and suggests a proposal addressing, that this suggests doesn't adequately cover the entire issue of pollution. And that is 4, that's all I have.
Okay, so now we will open it for public comment. Anyone who wishes to come forward and speak on any topic may do so at this time. You just have to, we have someone, sir, in the back. Please come up to the podium.
Can I just let everybody know we're going to stay to a hard 3 minutes tonight?
No problem. I didn't want to read that whole letter anyway. And I would have maybe summarized it differently, but good evening, trustees. I submitted a letter to the board. I hope you'll read it. And I'd welcome any challenges to anything I said that you think is factually incorrect. Thankfully, I only have 3 minutes, so I'll only speak to a portion of that letter. Nearly 20 years since graduating law school, I never had cause to sue any.
We have a question here. Which
Is this part of my 3 minutes?
what's your name again? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Jason Berg.
Yeah, you get the time back, but
Oh, yeah.
we just want a clarification on exactly.
No
what you-
problem. Hi, Jason Berg. I live on Windmill Lane. So nearly 20 years since graduating law school, I never had cause to sue anyone. Sadly, the way that this sewage plant process has unfolded left me and others with what I feel like was no choice. I expected ambushes during my combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, but I didn't expect to have to vigilantly watch the backs of my children and my neighbors' children, because our village was replacing a beloved and protected neighborhood park with a sewage plant, which I see as effectively in the dead of night. Despite several very positive accomplishments, the board, I don't feel, has covered itself in glory in this case, with the secrecy, lack of notice, last-minute agenda changes, uncanny February timing choice, the kind of fait accompli messaging, and various other things, including the attempts that I feel to kind of squelch some opposition. I really ask sincerely that you change course. The job of trustees is a difficult one, no doubt. But the process so far has created a lot of mistrust among myself and my neighbors. Please do not wave away legitimate issues with broad brush claims of misinformation. Do us the courtesy of addressing our real and valid concerns. Please make April 18th more than just theater. We really support cleaning up Lake Agawam, but we're very worried about what your plan will do to our families and our community. We see alternatives. As every military field guide will tell you, putting the latrine next to and uphill from the chow line is a bad idea. You propose putting this facility next to and above our largest grocery store. The group speaking before you are not alone in opposition to this plan. There's a petition that's been circulating on change.org opposing the park alienation for just the past week. And in that time, it's garnered over 250 signatures, I think 260 right now. Mayor Manger, you said in December this project is not in a residential area. How can a protected park bordered on nearly all sides by homes, with the condos to the south, homes immediately to the northwest and east, yes, there's a home next to the graveyard, and with a home's children's playset, we can argue about how far the front door is. The children's playset is like 10 feet from the lot line. That feels like a residential area. Trustee Stevenson, you said that in evaluating this project, we're just getting started, but the header of your own press release said that we're nearing the finish line. I think if you were in our shoes, you would also be alarmed and have similar concerns to us. So thank you. I look forward to more discussion.
Thank you.
David Rung, Pleasant Lane. If you read the letters to the editor in the press, you know that the village has egregiously overassessed my wife's and my property, which has cost us over $30,000 in excess village taxes. I have filed grievances, and the assessed value has been reduced by 29%. If you read Mark Epley's letter in this week's press, it said the property reduction was 35%. I'm confident that the village gave him this number, which shows that this administration either can't do arithmetic or is deliberately lying. But the point is, the reduction should have been 65%, and my grievance provides the facts to support this reduction. But the more important point is that none of this controversy needs to be. If the administration would be open to the grievance process, deliberation, and decisions being open, the public would be able to assess what is the right answer. And making these meetings open, you understand that all information having to do real estate is already in the public domain, and every member of these review boards has a conflict of interest. So there are many reasons to open these meetings and no reasons to keep them closed. The secrecy requires the public to believe that this administration treats residents unfairly solely to satisfy the wealthy political benefactors of the mayor and his cohorts to the detriment of all the rest of us. Identifying grievance committee members as lacking integrity and being cowardly doesn't need to be. Just open the meetings. I know there's been a lot of discussion about divisiveness. This doesn't have to be an issue that drew all these letters and back and forth in the press. The voters are going to hold you responsible. Just be transparent and fair and honest, and the voters will think of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rung. Who else would like to speak?
Good evening, trustees and my fellow neighbors. My name is Joe Greff. My family and I are full-time residents. We vote here, and we have owned our home since 2009. We care deeply about this community, and that is why we are here tonight. We are not just concerned, we are alarmed by the actions of this board. We are asking you clearly, terminate the proposed water treatment facility. At the last meeting, I said this was a short-sighted project. Since then, the situation has only gotten worse. The concerns have grown, and the answers from this board have not kept pace. Let's be direct. This process has lacked transparency from the start. Even that has now been acknowledged by you, Trustee Coburn. I give you some credit for that. Yet nothing has changed. There's been no meaningful disclosure, no real effort to involve residents in a decision that directly affects us. We have repeatedly asked for a Zoom option for the April 28th meeting and have been ignored. Yet a trustee has been able to participate in these meetings remotely. That double standard is unacceptable, unreal. At the same time, this board continues down a path that raises serious legal concerns, and lawmakers in Albany are beginning to pay attention. So let me be very clear. This is not going away. We're asking you to stop this process now, stop wasting the village's finite resources, and pursue alternative solutions and solutions that involve us. The community is ready to work with you, but trust has been damaged and will not be rebuilt with more of the same actions on your part. Let's rebuild that trust, starting with halting this plan. Do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mackie, you would like to speak?
Mackie Finnerty, Woolley Street. I have a problem that I need your help with. My partner Walter is handicapped, and he needs a rollator to go anywhere. So a thing we like to do, and the only two places in town you can, is get out in the environment and enjoy this beautiful place. And you can only do that at Orson Munn and Dune Beach, where they have those beautiful boardwalks that are handicap accessible, and handicap spots right there next to it. Unfortunately, over more than the last month, and every sunny day we try to go down, birds are coming in now and so on, they're all taken up by construction workers, including the 3 handicap spots. We were trying to pull over on the side of the road, and I see that you've put up no parking things all along that side of the road now. And we're like, this just doesn't seem right. I was trying to figure out what's a possible remedy for that. I looked at the lot, went over and took a look at the lot. There were 11 cars parked there. They could have easily been parked on the lot. There is no reason why they're there, especially blocking handicap spots. So I thought that the solution to it is when people get their permits to build houses, which go on now for as much as 2 years, as you know, that they also show where cars could be parked on their spot as much as they possibly can. And those are enormous lots. There's no question. Where most of these problems are, they're enormous lots. If there's more than that, you could require that they ferry their workers down to any of the beach lots, but especially the one that is always empty at the helicopter port and Cooper's Beach. So just to get them off the roads where everybody else is, get them out of handicap spots. And I don't think that's an unreasonable request for someone to do. I think some people already do that. I think take them to Cooper's, and so other people could do that as well. If you go away from the beach, I think you're all aware of the problem at the end of Main Street, where it's been under construction for years, that gigantic house, or 2 houses, I don't know what it is, and they park on both sides on the south end. Park on both sides of the road now for years, right? Not just this year.
I'm just,
years.
you're at 245, just so you know.
Anyway, I think that is something, and again, I looked at the lot twice, and there's plenty of room in there for those cars. And if you're gonna let them do it, please make it one side of the road. In the summer, none of us who pay the taxes and are here, if the beach is too crowded, we can't park on any of those roads. The construction workers can.
We're well
paying
past
the
3 minutes.
taxes. Please consider that.
Thank you very much, Mackie. Anyone else like to speak?
Good evening, trustees. My name is Erica Greff, and I'm Joe's wife. Good evening, neighbors. I think it's time to be honest about the cost of the sewer, one of the many reasons why I'm opposed to it. At last check, the village plans to spend roughly $25 million to build the system. Yes, some of it will be covered by grants, but when you factor in the annual borrowing costs on the portion the village expects to finance, along with the annual operating costs for a project this size, you're looking at roughly $1.5 to $2 million a year in ongoing costs. In real terms, that means several $100s per household every year in additional taxes that each household will pay in perpetuity. But there's another cost that's even greater: the loss of Southampton's history. Lola Prentice is the site of the old fort, built during the British occupation in 1777 and 1778. There's a New York State historic marker on the site. This was a real fortification, and you can still see the earthen defensive mounts built by British troops during the Revolutionary War. The Lola Prentice site is one of the few places where you can stand on the ground that connects directly to the village's origin, and it is irreplaceable. Those aren't the only costs. Let's talk about the community cost. Lola Prentice Park is a popular mixed-use public space. We have basketball courts, a dog park, an area for people to gather. If you break that up and you scatter the pieces around, it is not the same as the value of the whole. You've taken away, in essence, a community hub. And worst of all, even after all that money and disruption, we still will not have meaningfully addressed the main source of nitrogen pollution in any real way. As you may know, only about 20% of the nitrogen problem comes from the business district, and that can be addressed in cheaper, less disruptive ways. We can expand septic upgrades in the highest impact areas, like what Shippies has done already. We can give the algae harvester a chance to work because it's been used successfully in Georgia Pond and delivers immediate, visible results. It's not here because of permitting delays, not because it doesn't work. And if a treatment plan is needed, it belongs on the outskirts in an industrial part of town, not on a historic site in a public park.
You know, you had 245.
In a nutshell, this $25 million sewer project is an expensive way not to solve the problem, while permanently giving up a piece of Southampton's history,
We're at 3 minutes.
destroying valuable community space, and changing the character of the village.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the room that would like to speak? Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon
Hi, Sharon.
Stern. Hi. Hello. And I live on Cooper's Farm, and I want to talk about this too. After the last meeting, Trustee Stevenson spoke about the children playing in the park adjacent to Lake Wagwam, which is unfortunately polluted, and we all agree with that. So this raises an essential question for the community. What is the goal of this proposed facility, and are we addressing it? And in your own 2023 system design engineering, we saw something that was confounding to me, and I'm sure you've seen it too. 48% of the waste going into the lake comes from the neighboring septic tanks. 8% comes from their fertilizer, 4% from the runoff of those properties. That takes you up to 48, another 12 or 14 or so, that's 60 something. And then 14% is in the sediment already there. That's 75% already on site just by the neighbors. So what is this plant addressing? 20% comes from village businesses. I don't know what is being planned here, but if all you're addressing is 20% of the waste problem, then all the people who sit at the beach clubs and around that waterfront aren't getting the cleaning that this is supposed to be addressing, that we're paying for, that we're using community preservation fund money, then we're building the facility, then we're charging the taxpayers, we're alienating a park. At every level, I urge everybody involved in this process, you guys, our state politicians, our town people involved in the community preservation fund, everybody. I don't see that this works. I think that the people who are paying for this are going to be furious with you and everybody else when the results don't yield a clean Lake Agawam. I think this has failed in its conception, and I really think you have to rethink this. This is the children who are playing in that dirty park are going to be still playing in that dirty park. And guess what? The children who are playing at the dog park aren't going to have the dog park either in its original conception. So if you made a gift to the village, it's not going to hold. Guess what? If we want your land, we're going to grab it. All of this feels wrong to me. And I'm speaking so emotionally about it because I just don't think it's right. And I think we can do better. I think a decentralized idea where we focus on where the waste is coming from and the people who are polluting the lake clean up their pollution. Let's be real about this.
You have 245.
That's fine. I've said everything. I think everybody here fundamentally agrees with me. And I urge you to reconsider what you're doing. It's all getting done now. Everybody who knows about this is alarmed. And we're not even having open meetings about it. Come on, everybody.
Past 3.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sharon.
But it's a closed meeting, there's no Zoom.
Anyone else like to speak? Sir?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the board. My name is Anton Borovina, and I represent a number of very concerned residents of the village. Here just to request that the board consider having the meeting on April the 18th, one that is available remotely. There are many residents who are vitally concerned with what this board is trying to do to address the usage of a park and also to address and accommodate the septic system needs for the village. They can be reconciled, but however, it requires the input of residents, some of whom will not be able to be present in person. So I ask that the board consider having the session on April 18th done, not only in person, but remotely. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room like to speak? Sage, do we have anyone on Zoom here? No, no one on Zoom. Okay. Okay.
Good evening. My name is Jennifer Shin. I live on Windmill Lane. Residents who have been away will return to Southampton in a state of shock. Many locals don't even know about it either because that's how swiftly the village board has been working under the radar. This clean water project is a cover-up for what should really be dubbed as the Southampton Village Overexpansion Project. No one is against clean water. The pollution in Agawam Lake can be addressed using less invasive methods. Here, clean water is being used as a pretext to allow for the overdevelopment of downtown. The Clean Water Project is a perfect excuse to bring in a wastewater facility that will handle the future volume of an overdeveloped downtown. The board has explicitly stated that the new sewer facility, serving only the commercial district, would allow for new medical offices, new restaurants, and apartments above storefronts on Main Street, leading to more Airbnbs, more garbage, more taxes, and more traffic. The board wants us to believe they don't support overdevelopment, but their actions just don't add up to upholding the conservation and character of our beloved village. Imagine all the stores on Main Street with second-story apartments. Imagine the parking situation. At the last meeting, Mr. Stevenson said that as a toy store owner, he is struck to the core about the children playing at Agawam Park, polluted with toxic spores growing and blowing in the wind, and said, sorry, we need this. So Mr. Stevenson chooses to save the children who play at Agawam Park over the children who live and sleep around Lola Prentice Memorial Park. Mr. Stevenson says the leaching fields are not even 200 feet from any children, but the leaching fields are actually less than 15 yards from their door and 10 feet from their playset. Do we really have to choose to save one group of children over the other? Obviously, it's the duty of the village to protect all the children of Southampton Village, and it's ridiculous to prioritize the children playing in Agawam Park over the children who live by Lola Park. If the board cared so much about the children's safety, why has the algae harvester been on hold since 2019? Regulatory applications were returned to the village as incomplete for 3 consecutive years. How is this acceptable, knowing that the algae harvester proved to remove 90% of harmful algae blooms in that successful trial 7 years ago? Georgia Pond in East Hampton has been utilizing this harvester for 10 years already. And because of this failure to fill out the application for years, now the company that manufactures the harvesters has stopped making them. Another disturbing issue is that the money to purchase the site of 27 East is coming from the Community Preservation Fund. This money came from 2% of every real estate transfer, money from us residents to buy up acreage for preservation. We trusted CPF and the Peconic Land Trust to protect the little land we have left from
We're at
overdevelopment.
245.
But in a hypocritical move, they are buying this 1 acre property as a swap to give us less and destroy over 3 acres of pristine parkland and irreplaceable, beautiful old trees at Lola Park. This is not acting to preserve the land and character of our village.
Yeah, 3.
You should not use
3
your money
minutes.
to destroy the park so that you can overbuild.
Thank you. Sage, do we have anyone else on Zoom? Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, my name is John English. I'm a homeowner and a voter on Windmill Lane. I'd like to begin by addressing the continued lack of transparency regarding the proposed wastewater treatment facility and alienation of Lola Prentice Park. First, while scheduling an informational meeting on April 18th is a big step in the right direction, the absence of Zoom or other remote access options is concerning. It limits participation and can be reasonably perceived as restricting public engagement and debate. This should be corrected immediately to ensure all interested residents have the opportunity to attend. Second, in a December 2025 interview with Southampton Press, Mayor Manger stated, in reference to the proposed facility location, it's not a residential section. As a homeowner living within 200 feet of the proposed leaching fields, actually less than that, I find that statement both inaccurate and dismissive. My neighbors and I, who live directly adjacent to the proposed site, unequivocally consider this a residential area. To be clear, I fully support to improve the health of Lake Agawam. My concern is that the board appears to be overlooking more practical and effective alternatives. I do believe there is a large grant program in order to incentivize neighboring homes to update their sewer systems in order to rectify this. Isn't our tax money better spent towards continuing these programs and extending them to the commercial district? Our local favorite restaurant, Shippy's, completely overhauled their septic system to a state-of-the-art standalone system. Instead of pushing for an obtrusive system at Lola Prentice Park with untold health effects on our village residents, why not incentivize local businesses and restaurants to update their own system? This would be a significantly cheaper, less disruptive, cleaner, and safer alternative. Even the most simple cost-benefit analysis would see that focusing on updating individual sewer systems is a far superior solution compared to the Lola Prentice Park proposal. Additionally, as many people have mentioned, the algae harvest project successfully piloted in 2018 demonstrated the ability to remove 90% of algae as well as nitrogen and phosphorus pollutants and to cycle through the lake's full volume roughly every 70 days. Despite this, the project stalled for years, with multiple regulatory filings submitted by the village deemed incomplete. Meanwhile, East Hampton has used algae harvesters successfully on Georgia Pond for nearly a decade to prevent bloom. Why is streamlining this project not the village's #1 priority? It is irresponsible and negligent to continue any further with the proposal of Apprentice Park until all other avenues have been completely exhausted. The potential side effects are far too grave in terms of health effects, cost, legality, and village livelihood. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else? Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to speak in public comment?
Can I make some comments, Bill? May I?
Sure.
Okay. I hear the concerns that are being expressed, and I wanted to address a couple things. First and foremost, there was a couple comments about April 18th. I will see what we can do to get this meeting on Zoom. I think that's important. And, but that is going to be a source of a lot of information about maybe some of it remedial and could have been delivered sooner, but about the process that's gone on. This is a process, a discussion that's taken place in the village for nearly 20 years. And there has been a task force devoted to this of fellow residents whose only qualification really for joining it was they shared a concern based on the data they had seen that something needed to be done. The nitrogen sources, by the way, cited by one of our speakers from the DMB report, have been replaced by some more current and more accurate information based on more significant testing from the Center for Clean Water at Stony Brook. The people living around the lake contribute about 2% of the excess nitrogen into Lake Agawam. Most of it comes from a total of 1,500 structures that exist in the watershed north and slightly east and slightly west of Lake Agawam. So it's a systemic problem. And one of the things that I think is lost here a little bit, and I want to remind people, and you may hear more about this on the 18th, we have a nitrogen pollution problem in our groundwater. Lake Agawam is, as bad as it is really just a window into the water quality that exists everywhere in the village. We spent 100 years doing the absolute wrong thing with sewage, which is putting it directly into the ground. I hear the comments about IA systems and the amazing grants that are available, which trustees Ananti and others have done a great job of making people aware of. They've been increased. It's easier for village residents now. The entire village is considered Priority Zone 1, which means you're eligible for the full amount of grants to replace an IA system. There's a big but coming, And the big but is that a typical IA system, to nerd out a little bit, reduces nitrogen levels to somewhere around 15, 16 micrograms per liter. That's better than raw sewage at 70 to 100 micrograms per liter. A well-functioning sewer treatment plant gets you down to 6 to 8 micrograms per liter, and that difference is pretty significant. So that's why, in the eyes of most people, it's worth paying a bit of a premium to sewer what you can reasonably and efficiently sewer, as opposed to relying on IA systems. It's more efficient to operate a large sewer plant as well. We should all know, and it's not been in the public record, I don't think, but the Suffolk County undertook a very large assessment of sewage practices in Suffolk County. Suffolk County, New York, has the largest number of traditional old-fashioned septic systems of any county in the country. And despite our large population, we have the largest number per capita of any county in the country. And this is a technology that literally poisons our groundwater. It's not just that it allows toxic algae blooms in open waters like Lake Agawam. They're learning more and more that nitrogen in groundwater is actually toxic to humans. It's carcinogenic in certain concentrations over periods of time. It causes neurological disorders. It exacerbates neurological and respiratory disorders. It's a serious health threat on its own. We don't see it. We can't smell it. We don't know it's there. But it's everywhere in our groundwater. So as attractive as a algae harvester is, all that does is remove the plants that grow off of it and a little bit of the nitrogen along the way. The county undertook 5 years ago this substantial study, and they came out with their subsurface wastewater treatment plan. And that requires every municipality to use its maximum efforts as quickly as they can to do what they can to implement some form of water treatment technology, centralized water treatment technology. They recognize it's not efficient to do it everywhere, but there is a unfunded mandate, if you will, and significant pressure from Suffolk County to do this in every municipality, and it's happening in a lot of other municipalities. So we're not alone in this. I wanted to make those points. You asked for some feedback, Mr. Berg, on things that are not correct. It may seem this way. It's not the dead of night. February is not the dead of night, and it wasn't done with that purpose, and I understand the rhetoric, and I appreciate the rhetoric. But this is a process that's been going on for a long time. We were prohibited by the seller of the property on Windmill Lane from discussing this for about 120 or 150 days, 5 or 6 months, until the transaction had been basically approved verbally by the Community Preservation Fund. I'm still committed from here. I agree with the comments that we had some unfortunate language about nearing the finish line. We're nearing the finish line possibly on a site and a general concept and plan, but that we're not at that finish line, and there's a lot of work still to do. I just also wanted to address the overdevelopment issue. Development in the village is controlled by zoning. Period, end of story, and it's a pretty substantial process, in most cases going through 2 and in many cases 3 different land use boards here in the village. And it's all subject to the code and their interpretation of it, which has some real leeway to it. So we can, if we fear that with a water sewer treatment plant at some point in the future we're going to have overdevelopment, we can change the code. The code right now will not allow willy-nilly development, nor would the boards allow willy-nilly development. So I understand the conceptual concern, but I think that's an overstated concern. Last but not least, I just want to mention the historic nature, possible historic use of that of Lowell Apprentice Park as a park will be reviewed under SECRA, the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Actually, the State Historic Preservation Office, SHPO, will send someone here to do borings and drillings and diggings and determine that past use, any evidence of that past use, and what, if anything, either should be done or what can't be done in order to preserve that. They are the authority on this. We can give our opinions, but they are the authority on the SECRA impacts, if any, of disturbing that plant. I said a final comment, but I'm going to say one other thing. The New York State DEC, under their Speedies program, I won't give the acronym, but that's basically any wastewater treatment facility, and the Suffolk County and their Office of Wastewater Management will review any plans in detail. And their mandate is not to help the village or make us look good or to allow overdevelopment or to get infrastructure done. That's not their mandates. Both of their mandates are to protect public health. And they will balance interests, but they won't allow any project to go forward that puts residents at risk. It's not an exaggeration to say that they will look almost at every bolt of any plans that are proposed. So the public residents should take some faith in the fact that their review will be focused on their health and the protection of their children and of the community from a health standpoint. Just felt it was important to make
Thank you very
those
much.
comments.
Rob, anyone else like to say anything else?
I encourage you all to come and to listen to the facts on September 18th.
Not September,
I'm sorry.
April.
Sorry, April 18th. Thank you. As Trustee Coburn has outlined, there are some misconceptions. We intend to have the Deputy County Executive here speaking, who's in charge of water quality issues in the county, and among others. But it will be fact-based, and I think you should come and listen to this on April 18th.
Thank you. Okay, with that, I think no final public comments. We'll move to suggested resolutions. And I will turn to Trustee Zananti for the first resolution.
Number one, resolve the claims for the warrant dated April 9th, 2026, totaling $364,988.49. Warrant number A19, general, $375,332.54. Warrant number H12, capital, and $27,900. Warrant number T21, trust, are audited and approved. I'll make the motion.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Resolve the reading of the minutes for the March 24th, 2026 Board of Trustees meeting is dispensed, accepted as filed by the village clerk, hereby ratified and approved, and I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Whereas the Board of Trustees adopted a local law on March 12, 2026, changing the terms of office for trustees and the mayor from 2 years to 4 years, and whereas a change to the terms of office of the mayor and trustees are subject to a permissive referendum, and whereas pursuant to New York State Village Law 9-908, the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton are authorized and voted to submit the issue for the approval of the qualified electors of the village. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the proposition placed before the qualified electors will read as follows. Shall the terms of office for the mayor and trustees of the Village of Southampton be changed from 2 years to 4 years, in accordance with the local law adopted on March 12, 2026?
Hang on, I'm sorry. We're going to amend that, I think, to just say, just take out the last line. So it would end with, shall the terms of office for the mayor and trustee of the Village of Southampton be changed from 2 years to 4 years, period?
Or question mark.
Sorry, question mark.
Question mark.
And take out in accordance, so it doesn't confuse anybody.
Would you prefer that I read it again then?
Just maybe that last paragraph.
Okay, I'll make a note that the proposition placed before the qualified electors will read as follows. Shall the terms of office for the mayor and trustees of the Village of Southampton be changed from 2 years to 4 years?
Question mark, right.
You making the motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I will second. All in favor?
Discussion?
Yep.
Although what you're putting on the ballot is legally sufficient, I think that for the voting public who has to make a decision on the spot and may not have had an opportunity or has not read the whole law, that this really should have more information for them to make a decision on it. I would like to make a suggestion of how it could read, and so that you can consider it. Shall the terms of office for the mayor and trustees of the Village of Southampton be changed from 2 years to 4 years, and village elections changed from annual elections to biannual elections held in odd-numbered years, beginning in 2029, subject to a one-time 3-year term for officials elected in 2028 to implement this transition, and with no term limits until further notice. This reflects what is in the proposed law and allows people to see the full extent of what they're voting on.
I'm going to turn to the
Yeah,
attorney.
the problem with that, trustee Simeoni, is that the only thing permitted at the referendum is the change from 2 years to 4 years. The public doesn't have a right to vote on all those other issues that were in the local law.
But they are in the local law.
Correct, but they're not subject to a vote by the public. They're not permitted by state law. So the only thing you can have a referendum on, the only thing the public's allowed to vote on is something that is authorized by state law. And so changing a term of office from 2 years to 4 years can be voted on by the public in a referendum. In this case, it was subject to a permissive referendum, but the board also had the authority to put it up for a referendum directly themselves, which is what the board chose to do. But you can't take a vote on all the rest of the stuff that's in the law. That's not permitted.
They're just voting just on the 4 years, but to understand how this change will take effect and what it will do, I mean, I think.
That's a political issue, or it has nothing to do with the actual legal issue that's before the voters.
Well, then we
so.
should also discuss how the public will be fully informed as to what they're going to be voting on, because if they're not just voting on a change from 2 years to 4 years, they're really voting on the change and how elections will occur.
That's actually absolutely not correct. They can only vote on
No,
2 to 4 years. They do not get to vote on your local law. They only get to vote on whether to change the terms from 2 years to 4 years. That's precisely what they don't get to vote on, what you're
No,
saying.
I said we should be informing them of what else is involved. That is, there should be an education process involved in
That's
making
a separate
sure,
issue.
making
Has
sure
nothing
that
to do with
people
this
are
resolution.
fully informed as to what this voting for this law really
Well,
means.
and for example, though, I've spoken to not only the village attorney here, but I've also spoken to NICOM and the attorneys up in Albany and addressed the question of whether we could include, term limits. And they said, no, that is not allowed by the Constitution of the State of New York. That is a decision that can be made by public law, by the village board, but not put to a referendum. The only thing in this case that can be put to a referendum is, again, changing it, the length of the term from a certain number to a certain number, in this case, 2 years to 4 years. So I have also double-checked belts and suspenders with what we could include in the referendum, and they said that other information cannot be included. That the
All right.
only question is whether it's 2 or 4 years in this case.
All right, well,
But, okay,
ahead.
I'm not sure that, I'm not sure that the board, aside from directing them to the website or that kind of thing, because there was a split vote, I don't know how you can use the village resources to campaign for one position or another on this. This should just be put out there. If people want to politically do it separate and apart from the village, they can do it, but I don't think we should be in the position, besides putting out what's up there, advertising the local law, telling them there's going to be a vote,
Right.
general knowledge like that, that's different, but beyond that, you have to do that politically if you are in favor or opposed to it, as opposed to the village getting involved with that.
So coincidentally, I'd had a conversation with our attorney this afternoon. I operated, I think incorrectly, under an assumption for a while that, as I've seen in some other referendums, that the actual law itself would also be produced on the referendum page for reference. But I think I understand from you, Eileen, that that's not likely to be the case or cannot be the case. So if that is so, I do think that we should at least separately have both on the website and possibly consider through advertising to just make people aware of the referendum. Here's the language of the referendum. Here's either a QR code to the law that was passed, or here's bullet points summarizing the key provisions of the law that was passed. And I think the more we can inform people about what they're voting on, the better we'll all feel about the results and the outcome of the referendum decision.
Okay. Any other comments? Discussion? All right, so I'll call for the vote. We have a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
No.
You're voting no? Okay, again, you are denying the public the right to vote in a referendum that we've already voted on. Okay. All right, we'll keep moving along. The next one, whereas the Village of Southampton is in the process of creating a sewer system in the village, and whereas as part of the sewer project, the village plans to relocate the dog park from its current location at Lola Prentice Park in order to alienate the Lola Prentice Park property for the purpose of constructing a new wastewater treatment facility with leaching fields in the area to support the sewer project, and whereas there are bills pending in the New York State Legislature to authorize the alienation of Lola Prentice Park, and whereas the village has identified the parcel of land at 135 Windmill Lane, SCTM 904-6-1-4.7, it's 135 Windmill Lane, as a suitable location to relocate the dog park and provide equivalent recreational opportunities, and whereas the town of Southampton and the village of Southampton have reached an agreement with the owner of 135 Windmill Lane for the purchase of said property, and whereas the purchase price will be paid completely from the town of Southampton Community Preservation Fund, and whereas the village and town shall be joint owners of 135 Windmill Lane, and operation of the premises by the village shall be in accordance with intermunicipal agreement to be entered into by the parties, and whereas if at some point the property is no longer needed for the intended purpose, it shall be used for a purpose consistent with New York State Town Law 64-E and the preservation of the community character. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees authorizes the mayor to execute any documents necessary to support the purchase as described of said property for the village. I'll make a motion.
Second.
Discussion. Yes, the seller has actually already signed the agreement to sell his property to the town and the village. At this point, the town has informed me that they are only awaiting my signature, which, again, if we approve this here tonight, I will be able to sign and transmit to the town tomorrow. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, thank you.
Be it resolved that the Village of Southampton Board of Trustees authorizes and retains Anthony Pasca Esquire of the law firm Essex, Hefter, Angel, D'Italia, and Pasca LLP to represent and defend the village's interests in connection with the matter of Jason T. Berg et al. Versus the Incorporated Village of Southampton, filed in the New York State Supreme Court, Suffolk County, under index number 608630 of 2026, and as special counsel on an as-needed basis in connection with the sewer system project under the terms of the engagement proposal dated April 6, 2026, and be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to execute the engagement letter subject to the approval of the village attorney. That's your motion.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
So discussion, I actually did get to interview Mr. Pasco with the village attorney. He is actually, in fact, the attorney who handled all of the legal work in conjunction with the West Hampton wastewater treatment plant, and he has great familiarity with, again, everything from getting it in place to, again, setting deadlines for hookups within the village business district in West Hampton. And so he's very familiar with this, and I think he is really an excellent person to work on our behalf in this engagement. So I just wanted to make that clear. I don't know, Eileen, did you want to add anything about Mr. Pasco or his work?
No, I think we went to a lot of trouble to find the right attorney, and I think we've done that in Mr. Pasco.
So just to be clear, it's not only to represent the village in this case, but it's also to work with us going forward.
Correct. He'll work with me, he'll work with the sewer task force, whoever is needed.
He worked very closely with Maria Moore when she was the mayor of West Hampton in making their reality, making their septic system a reality, sewer system a reality. So given that, and again, the confidence that I believe village attorney Powers and I seemed, understood when he was presenting, he seemed absolutely the right person to handle this, as he has firsthand knowledge of doing this in a neighboring community. So we have a A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Be it resolved that the Village of Southampton Board of Trustees authorizes and retains Richard A. DeMeo Esquire of the law firm of Campolo, Middleton, and McCormick LLP to defend the interests of the village in connection with the matter of 91 Fowler LLC as Village of Southampton the Village of Southampton Board of Trustees and the Village of Southampton Planning Board, filed in the New York State Supreme Court, Suffolk County, under index number 634772 of 2025. Said appointment shall be at an hourly rate of $325, and be it further resolved that the mayor is authorized to execute a retainer agreement subject to the approval of the village attorney. This is a big litigation. When papers and everything are due, it takes a lot of hours in a week, and I've been handling it so far. But it takes a lot of time away from my responsibilities at the village. So we thought it best to bring somebody else in to help.
So I'll make a motion.
Just quick
Sure.
question.
We just have to have a second, then we can do more discussion.
Okay, sorry.
Second.
Okay, now discussion.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah.
We had hired another attorney, I thought, on this matter.
We didn't, Kim Judd was authorized, just to help with the litigation, but.
She's the planning board attorney.
And she will continue to help, but.
As the planning board attorney.
Correct.
She's the
And
planning
you've been
board
representing
attorney.
the village.
I was
Okay.
doing the
Correct.
village, and this is to represent the village on this entire matter.
And one of the reasons why this makes sense, and actually in the previous case, is there are deadlines that are set by the court of when responses have to be provided. And in order to meet those, it really is a drain upon Eileen and Kim Judd. So these people will be able to make sure we make the deadlines.
Can the village attorney just not pull multiple all-nighters?
Yeah, I can, but,
Okay, so this attorney that we're going to authorize to hire will work alongside of Kimberly Judd?
correct, he
okay.
will.
And
And
you.
he'll work with me also.
And you.
Yeah,
Right, we're
that's-
preparing the record, which is a big project too, so,
Thank you.
all right.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Number 7, whereas the Village of Southampton recognizes the need to utilize new technologies in an effort to help improve the water quality in our lakes and ponds, and whereas numerous studies have identified nitrogen pollution as an ongoing problem in Lake Agawam, resulting in repeated harmful algae blooms, HABs, in the lake, and whereas on November 3rd, 2020, CDM Smith completed a technical memorandum for the Lake Agawam Conservancy, identifying Lake Agawam Park as an appropriate location for the installation of a permeable reactive barrier, PRB, to treat nitrogen in Lake Agawam. And whereas on April 13th, 2022, CDM Smith submitted a report to the Village of Southampton providing a second phase of data collection and analysis supporting a design of a PRB on village land adjacent to Lake Agawam. And whereas, based on the findings of the CDM Smith report, the village applied for CPF Water Quality Improvement Program funding to support the PRB project and completed SECRA on April 18th, 2022, identifying no significant environmental impacts associated with the proposed action, and was subsequently awarded funding. And whereas on July 29th, 2024, the Village of Southampton issued a request for proposal, RFP, to identify a qualified firm to install the PRB, and whereas the Village of Southampton evaluated proposals submitted in response to the RFP and selected Isotech Inc. to complete the installation of the PRB. And whereas Isotech Inc. completed the PRB design plans, making minor revisions to the conceptual design prepared by CDM Smith, and obtained all necessary permits for the installation, and has scheduled the injection to commence on April 13th, 2026. And whereas the Board of Trustees has identified the decision to authorize the installation of the revised PRB as an unlisted action under 6 NYC-RR Part 617.4, provisions of the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SECRA. And whereas Lisa M. Rickmers of H2M Architects and Engineers, a Southampton Village Planning Consultant, prepared a short environmental assessment form, SEAF Part 1, with project information prepared in a SEAF Part 2, which identified no or small impact may occur, and drafted an SEAF Part 3, which recommends there would be no significant adverse impacts on the environment. And whereas in consideration of the SEAF Parts 1 through 3 and supplemental materials, the village has prepared a negative declaration pursuant to Section 617.7 and 617.12 of the SECRA regulations. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby adopts the negative declaration pursuant to SECRA, as there are no significant, and a copy is attached in the package, I believe, as there are no significant negative environmental impacts anticipated by this action. I'll take a breath and I'll make the motion.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Next resolution. Whereas the village previously entered into an agreement with South Fork Asphalt for construction services for the Wickapog Road, Phillips Pond, and Old Town Pond bioswale projects. And whereas upon inspection of the Old Town Pond bioswale project site, it was determined that approximately 160 linear feet of existing curbing is in a state of disrepair and that repairing the curbing is necessary to ensure the integrity and proper function of the bioswale improvement. And whereas the costs associated with this additional work have been determined to be $34,790, and whereas the costs associated with said additional curbing work are eligible for reimbursement under the CPF Old Town Pond Watershed Project and will be paid from account H.8015.2. Now therefore be it resolved that the Village Board of Trustees hereby authorizes the mayor, subject to the approval of the village attorney, to execute an amendment to the October 31st, 2025 agreement with South Fork Asphalt to perform additional construction services for the Old Town Pond bioswale project with all costs to be fully reimbursed through the awarded grant funds. I will make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Number 9, whereas the village has been working with the trustees of the freeholders of the town of Southampton, hereinafter town trustees, to improve the lighting in the parking area at Lake Agawam, and whereas there was a CPF grant issued to cover the cost of the new lighting pole design, and whereas the Village Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation rejected the poles as designed and asked for a different design consistent with existing Southampton Village streetlights. And whereas the new design comes with an increased cost in the amount of $30,332.50. And whereas the Village of Southampton, the town trustees, and the Bathing Corporation have tentatively agreed to share the increased cost equally. Now therefore be it resolved that the village is authorized to pay its share of $10,110.67 to be paid out of trustee special projects A.1010.443. I make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
Quick
Aye.
discussion.
Sorry.
I just want to acknowledge the important role that the ARB played here. It's exactly what they should do. And while there's an increased cost to us, the result is I think going to be a good one, and I appreciate the input that they had on this improvement. Thank you.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Len.
10, whereas the Village of Southampton previously awarded a contract to Shalliff and Rogers Architects to prepare bids and oversee the construction of the historic restoration of the exterior of the Rogers Mansion Historical Museum. And whereas the contract to oversee the construction had an outside date of 18 months with the ability for the village to extend if the project remained incomplete. And whereas due to issues with a subcontractor that was no fault of Shalliff and Rogers Architects, the project remains incomplete. And whereas in accordance with the existing contract, Shalliff and Rogers Architects submitted an additional proposal to oversee the completion of the project, now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the extension proposal from Shalliff and Rogers to oversee the completion of the Rogers Mansion exterior restoration in accordance with the proposal in an amount not to exceed $12,690 to be paid from trustee special projects, and authorizes the mayor to execute the same. I'll make the motion and I have a comment.
Okay, I'll second and then you can discuss.
I have asked the village administrator to see if we can try to recover these costs, which are not due to any fault of anybody except the contractor and his subcontractor, so that we are not on the hook for $12,690.
Great.
Okay. But we have a motion and a second on this, so all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Whereas the Village Board of Trustees is working to conduct a comprehensive restoration of the World War I Memorial located in Agawam Park, and whereas L.K. McLean Associates, Engineers, and Surveyors previously worked with the village grant writer and historic consultant to secure a state grant to help restore and preserve this important village landmark. And whereas the village requires the assistance of architects and engineers to complete design and permitting services, as well as bidding assistance for the project. And whereas the village has secured a proposal from L.K. McLean Associates Engineering and Surveying to complete the requested work, now therefore be it resolved, the Village Board of Trustees hereby approves and authorizes the mayor to execute the proposal with L.K. McLean Associates Engineers and Surveying at a total cost not to exceed $98,700. I'll make the motion.
Second.
Discussion, please, Bill. As we've reviewed the repair to the memorial, it's clear that this renovation has been done at various times in the past. We've heard reports that they used the wrong stone, or they used the wrong mortar, or they did this, or they did that. It's great that we've been able to generate the funds, and in many respects, thanks to your great efforts. But how are we making sure that these guys are doing the right job? Who in the
Well,
village is checking these
They're
guys
they're
out?
gonna be doing this in conjunction with SHPO, which is the State Historic Board that approves, how we restore a monument such as this. And previously, I believe that had not been done, and that incorrect material had been used. It's not an insignificant amount of money, but I did review their proposal, and it is quite involved with the work that needs to be done, especially from an engineering component, and then with the proper permitting that's required to continue this, as well as appropriate bid specs to go out as an RFP to qualified contractors that actually are able to do this type of restoration work on a historic monument. So it's quite involved. They did first come in with a higher amount. I told them that was not, we were not going to approve that. And so it was about $116,000, I think, was the first. I asked them to come back with a revised one to sharpen their pencils, and they came in here at $98,700. But they named the two individuals that they will be working with, and gave their credentials in historic preservation, engineering, architecture, and the like. And so I believe that this is legitimate for making sure that we restore this in the way that it should be restored, and so that it will be a lasting restoration, as opposed to something that is not going to last more than 10 years or so.
Any chance that we can consider using granite or marble that'll last centuries?
Yeah, no, honestly, so one of the issues was that they did not like the use of granite that had been
Really?
used at one point, that was not historically accurate.
Huh.
And so that's why we have to come up with a different type of material. The structure itself is made from, I think it's Indiana limestone, but the flooring is really what is a problem. And they will not approve granite, so we have to come up with an alternative. I know. So that is one of the other things that they're going to be looking at to see what is going to be permissible from SHPO, the State Historic
And that will
Preservation.
last.
Yeah, exactly.
And it may just be a good time to remind people of both the private funding and also the state grant
State
funding.
grant for $675,000.
And the two of those together total,
That's about 1.2 million. Yeah. Anyway, all right. So we have a motion and a second, I believe. Yes.
Yep.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay.
Number 12, whereas upon the recommendation of the Assistant Superintendent of the Department of Public Works, it has been determined that a reallocation of funds within the central garage budget is necessary. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton hereby approves and authorizes the following budget modification. Decrease account A 1640.452, Central Garage Training by $18,116.14. Increase account A 1640.41, Central Garage Supplies and Materials by $4,160.14. And increase account A 1640.44, Central Garage Contractual Services by $14,000. I'll make that motion.
I'll second, and just as a brief discussion, this is mainly due to equipment that was damaged or overused during the blizzards we had this winter. So we had to buy some new, very costly blades for snowplows, as well as repair some of the equipment that went down during the removal of the snow. So this was not obviously anticipated. But we do have the money that we can then realign from training, because this training did not take place this year, and it's unlikely that it would be happening by May 31st. So this is a good use to use that money for the equipment that we had to replace. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Whereas the Superintendent of Public Works has identified the need to implement the Arrayas Design Planting Plan for Moses Park, and whereas the property was acquired through the Community Preservation Fund, CPF, which has reviewed and approved the proposed planting plan, and whereas the Superintendent of Public Works has reviewed the scope of work and recommends proceeding with the solicitation of proposals from qualified contractors, and whereas the Mayor and Village Board of Trustees deem it to be in the best interest of the village to ensure that the work is completed in accordance with the approved design plan. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Superintendent of Public Works is hereby authorized and directed to prepare and issue a request for proposal, RFP, for the implementation of the Arrayas Design Planting Plan at Moses Park, and be it further resolved that all proposals received shall be reviewed and evaluated in accordance with village procurement policies, and be it further resolved that the Mayor and Village Board of Trustees of the Village of Southampton hereby approve the issuance of said RFP and authorize the Superintendent of Public Works to proceed accordingly. I make the motion.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye. Number 14, whereas under New York State Village Law Sections 7-712 and 7-718, all Village Planning Board and Zoning Board of Appeals members, including alternate members, are required to complete a total of 4 hours per year of training. And whereas Section 19-5, Section 65-2A1, and Section 116-42 of the Village Code require all members of the Planning Board, Zoning Board of Appeals, and Board of Architecture Review and Historic Preservation, including alternate members, to complete a total of 4 hours of year of training. And whereas Section 116-43 of the Village Code states that the Village Board shall annually designate such seminars, workshops, or continuing education courses which may be offered within a reasonable distance and which may be helpful to or be of assistance to the Board of Appeals, Planning Board, and/or Board of Architectural Review and Historic Preservation in carrying out its functions in a timely, fair, and lawful manner. And whereas the local governing body has the discretion to determine whether these programs shall meet the yearly requirements, and whereas the board finds that the availability of a variety of options will improve access and convenience for the volunteer member boards to achieve the requirement while providing a diversity of program areas to improve individual knowledge and experience. Now therefore, be it resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby pre-authorizes educational programs for which a certificate will be provided by the following organizations: New York Conference of Mayors, Suffolk County Planning Federation, Nassau County Planning Commission, American Planning Association, including the Metro Chapter and Long Island section, Suffolk County Village Officials Association, Long Island Regional Planning Council, Hofstra University, including the Breslin Center for Real Estate Studies and the Maurice A. Dean School of Law, New York State Department of State Division of Local Government Services, including online webinars, National Alliance of Preservation Commissions, including online webinars, the New York State Historic Preservation Office, including online webinars. Others may be pre-approved by the village administrator. I'll make that motion.
That was long. Second. All in favor?
Aye. Whereas the Chief Administrative Judge of the courts approved updated compensation rates for interpreter services on March 25th, 2026, and whereas the Village of Southampton Justice Court is eligible for full reimbursement from Suffolk County for such interpreter service costs, now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Trustees hereby approves interpreter service rates for the Village Justice Court as follows: $300 for a half day and $500 for a full day, effective April 1st, 2026. I make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts the letter of resignation for Patrick Service, a maintenance mechanic 1 of our Parks Department, effective April 10th, 2026. I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees accepts the letter of resignation for Christine Lockhart, paramedic of our Southampton Village Volunteer Ambulance Department, from a full-time position and a transition to a per diem employee, effective May 1st, 2026. I make the motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves Police Officer Lee Pulliam and Detective Michael Horseman to attend the New York State Annual Hostage Negotiation Conference from May 20th, 22nd, 2026 in Buffalo, New York. Registration, training, hotel accommodations, meals, and travel expenses are estimated to be $2,800 total. I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Number 19, resolve, the Board of Trustees approves the iTry organization to host their 4th annual bike practices at Cooper's Beach for Saturday, May 30th, Saturday, June 6th, and Saturday, June 13th, 2026, from 11 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. All operations will be conducted at the most northwestern corner of the parking lot. The Cooper's Beach entrance must be clear, unobstructed, and managed by the Cooper's Beach staff only. No volunteers are authorized to block traffic on Meadow Lane. The local nonprofit organization is requesting the police fee be waived for their event. I'll make the motion.
I will second discussion. They've done this before. Last year, they got interrupted because there was a protest down on Meadow Lane, but we hope that will not happen this year. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolved, the Board of Trustees hereby approves the Heart of the Hamptons to host their 5th annual Moonlit Plunge fundraiser at Cooper's Beach on Wednesday, July 29th, 2026, from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. The $250 fee will be waived for this event. I make the motion.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Resolved, the Board of Trustees approves the beach event application for the Southampton Bath and Tennis Club at 212 Gin Lane on Saturday, August 22nd, 2026, from 6:30 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. for 200 guests. Parking exception letters will be provided and must be prominently displayed on vehicles during the event. I make the motion.
Well, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to go to comments from board members, and we'll start with Trustee Coburn.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor Manger. A few comments. With respect to this April 18th information session, starting at 10 a.m. here in the boardroom at Village Hall, I wanted to make a couple comments. I will look further into either technical or other limitations and reasons why we can or cannot make Zoom available. But whether it is or isn't, I want to let people know that they can submit letters, comments, or questions in advance to the mayor's assistant, Karen Bontempo, at her village email address or here in person at Village Hall. If they are unable to attend but wish to weigh in, that's one way that's already available to them to do it. Second, just based on our conversation earlier, Mayor Menger and others, I want to work with you to see about getting, 1 or 2 advertisements into the paper just to raise awareness and provide the means for people to learn more about the language for the referendum and the local law extending terms. So I'd like to follow through on that. I wanted to just talk about some infrastructure. Actually, I'm going to mention quickly that I think others attended. I attended it as a result of a generous gift, but attended the 4th of July fundraiser held at Union Burger Bar, which I think was another success. I haven't heard the financial results, but there was great attendance, and I think it's important for village residents to know that there's an awful lot of fundraising going on to make this year's 4th of July parade the special event that we want it to be for the 250th. I think there's another event coming up on May 6th. Does anyone know if that's the date? Okay, I'm going to stop there.
May 7th.
May 7th, thanks. So I want to talk about some infrastructure. The easy one to start with is just right next door here, for those who haven't seen it. The renovation of the arboretum surrounding the Southampton Arts Center is in full swing right now, has been for the last 3 weeks. There's a tremendous amount of work going on. They're already about halfway through the basic planting and hardscape work. There's another 3 or 4 weeks of that basic work to go and planting, but it's really looking fantastic, and it's a tribute to that organization which raised the funds privately and to the professionals involved. It's going to be a big upgrade and an asset for the whole downtown of the village. And the last of the plantings will be completed, I'm told, before July 1st, maybe well before, but the substantial work close to Job's Lane and back through the initial park area is likely to be done by Memorial Day. So wanted to highlight that. Secondly, I guess I'd like to ask, I don't know if anyone here knows, but I'd like to just get an update on any remaining plantings or work to be done in the green buffer at the southeast corner of Lake Agawam. We can, I guess, reach out to the Conservancy or others, but I understand there's another round of planning to go. Just like to understand whether that is going to be completed before Memorial Day. Third, just another infrastructure question, but I've heard, maybe misheard, but that the solar panels in Job's Lane parking lot are not yet fully generating power or putting power into the grid. And I don't know, Mayor Manger, if there's something I can help with, or if you have an update on who's in charge of that, or how that's going.
Well, Scott's been working with trying to coordinate.
We're trying to coordinate because there's two fundamentally substantial projects, electric projects. Obviously, we have the anticipated construction of a algae harvester. We also have the facility that's producing all this electric into the grid. There's going to be substantial disruption to the park on both cases. The idea is to get them integrated to reduce the amount of impact to the park and to make sure it all happens at the same time. We've been trying to coordinate with the engineers of the algae harvester, representing the algae harvester, of PSC&G, and of Johnson's Controls. The algae harvester has gone through some, I don't know if you'd call it evolution or a shift in people who work for them, different company, essentially. So it's been a little bit more difficult. I'll take some responsibility for that. I relied pretty heavily on PSC&G to coordinate it. We took over, and the meeting should be probably, I think it's scheduled, I'll have to check with the assistant of the mayor, but all the players are together now trying to identify a date in the very near future.
Unfortunately, the issue is they have to trench all the way across the middle of Agawam Park because the
Pole that will accept
that
it.
will accept it is in front of Veterans Hall. And so instead of having them tear it up once and then the other guys coming in and tearing it all up again, I said, why don't we try and do this once and have it only torn up once? And that's what we're trying to coordinate.
Okay.
There's also a lack of infrastructure there. There is the one pole or two poles, and obviously you don't want to run the risk of having to put more up. The public generally doesn't like a lot of poles. So.
Understand. Also, just last but not least, put out there that in that same area of town, I've been spending some time reaching out with and having conversations with people who have had an interest in the restoration of Pyrus Concert House and related amenities. And I'm committing here publicly to continuing working with them and trying to resurrect whatever project is approved to go forward and determined, with the primary focus on getting the Pyrus Concert House rebuilt. It's sitting in pieces in a trailer, which is not good. There's funding still available to rebuild it. And one of the things I'll just put out in this forum is that I believe we also own some parkland. We, along with the CPF, own parkland there already. I know there's this thought that may be further expanded. Maybe that third parcel may have come back and may be under consideration by CPF in whatever size or configuration. I would put out the idea that that park, when it is finalized and developed as a park, perhaps should be named the Pyrus Concert Park. It seems appropriate. That's where he launched his ferry to take people across Lake Agawam, was from right across from that park. And I think that would be a nice way to underscore the restoration of the house and to celebrate an important Southampton resident. So if anyone on the board or anyone listening in the public wants to know more about this or be involved, please contact me. And that's my comments. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Coburn. We'll go to Trustee Simeoni.
Very briefly, we had another meeting on Tuesday with the Senior Services Committee in order to review the results of the survey. It was very interesting. We came from some conclusions that were really different from what the common knowledge is of what we think seniors would need. We're going to have another meeting on Tuesday in order to refine that, and then on the 21st, we'll be making a presentation to the board for your consideration. With that, good night.
Thank you, Trustee Simeoni. Trustee Stevenson.
Thank you. I appreciated all the residents who came this evening and made their comments about the wastewater treatment plant and the sewage treatment plant. I appreciate their concerns, and I understand where they're coming from and what their concerns are. By the same token, the one thing that I would like to point out to everyone is to disabuse the notion that this is a sudden idea that the board suddenly got together and said, oh, let's just throw a sewage treatment plant together in Lola Prentice Park. As Trustee Coburn said, the village has been seriously considering and wanting to develop a sewage treatment plant for nearly 20 years. I served on the sewage task force for the first 4 years that I was a trustee. And since then, Trustee Zananti and Trustee Coburn have also served it, along with a great many smart, intelligent, dedicated people who really have investigated this issue and tried to consider every possible alternative to make the village of Southampton arrive in the 21st century and stop putting our waste into the ground as was done hundreds of years ago, and as Trustee Coburn pointed out, is probably the worst way to handle your waste. This group has looked at decentralized systems. They've looked at every possible solution that could be thought of, and all of them have some advantages and some disadvantages. But when the opportunity to acquire some land that actually met all of the requirements for setbacks and the area required, these requirements have already been established by the environmental DEC and how far away the leaching fields have to be from residents. Those requirements were already established, and this property meets those requirements. So I just want to say that this plan has been vetted. People have been discussing it now. Were those probably that group could have done a better job keeping the public informed about what they were thinking about, what they were doing. But for the most part, the average resident, myself included, doesn't pay much attention to something until it directly affects them. And of course, the people here tonight were those who live directly around that area. So again, I appreciate their concern. And I just guarantee, as Trustee Coburn said, that every step of this project and every aspects of its safety and every aspects of everything that goes into implementing it will be vetted not by this board, but by experts from all the environmental and regulatory agencies that have control over this. I agree with Trustee Simeone that there should be some that there should be some publication about the extending the term limits. But by the same token, I think we really have to get some people understanding the April 18th meeting. We need to have some advertisements and publication about that, and I thoroughly feel that should be Zoomable. I don't understand why that should be a problem, but apparently it is. But I really lend my support to allowing some way that can be done. I know that when we had the last meeting there, it was a little bit problematic with the feedback and whatnot, but that everybody should be able to voice their opinion about that. I would like to ask Bill, maybe in your comments, there were several people made mention of the algae harvester, and I know that there's been some issues. The company that was making it stopped making it or went out of business and somebody else bought it. But if you could just maybe bring everybody up to speed on what's going on with that when you make your comments, I'd appreciate it. With regard to publicizing the extension of the length of the term, I would love to be able to include in that my personal opinion is that we should add term limits. Now, we can't add that, as our village attorney pointed out, to the resolution, because you can't do that. That would have to be an act of the board, and the board can't. We're not going to extend term limits unless the term length gets extended. So, but I go on record here tonight as saying if that is approved, I would be very much in favor of term limits and would work to see that would be enacted. Easter's come and gone. I want to congratulate the PBA for having a very beautiful event in an Agawam Park, and all the children going around chasing eggs. I wasn't able to be there myself, but I saw that on the video that it was really well attended, and that's great. Of course, with Easter, it's the season of rebirth, and we're beginning to see daffodils come up. And as Trustee Coburn said, I'm really looking forward to the SAC garden being completed. We designated some funds tonight to landscape Moses Park. The village is going to look very much better once those things are done, and really looking forward to all that happening. By the same token, it's been a very, very hard winter. I spoke with Steve Phillips, the superintendent of the DPW, this morning, just how much work he's had to put in plowing the streets, and how our streets have got maybe even more potholes than they normally do. And I just want to assure all the residents that we are all aware of that he's aware of that, and we're expending as many of the resources as we can to put that back together the way it should. But I hope everybody will understand what a really difficult winter it was in terms of the condition of our roads. With that, I say thank you very much and wish everyone a good night.
Okay, Trustee Zananti.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to restate, the April 18th session is a public information session. It's not a public hearing on the topic. The speakers, will include the subjects of, what the situation was, all the sites that were considered, why the decision was made, and what the impacts will be. And our engineers will be there, the sewer task force will be there. As I said, the deputy county exec will be there, who's been fully briefed on our plan. And there will be ample opportunity for questions to be asked by those here, and we'll see about the Zoom. But it is an information session. The next topic is traffic. It's springtime, so traffic is coming. On the 26th of March, we hosted a Zoom with the traffic committee, and the tape is available for anybody who wants it. I can certainly send it around. We talked at that meeting about the continued sequence of lighting traffic lights on County Road 39, the placement of cones by hand east of North Sea Road to allow the westbound traffic to merge before Burger King, before the west side of North Sea Road, which seems to be helping a little bit. And the fact that there will be, during rush hour that is, and the fact that there are no left turns eastbound at Sandy Hollow Road on County Road 39 during rush hour only. So those tweaks are continuing, and will be put to the test very soon. The mayor and I are going to meet tomorrow with the town on this issue on County Road 39, and we'll see if they have any other tweaks or any other takeaways from that meeting. Yes, as Trustee Coburn stated, the fundraiser for the 4th of July parade at Union Burger on March 26th was a success. Over 100 attendees were there, well over 100 attendees were there, and they're raising money at a great clip and spending it at a great clip also. The next fundraiser for the 4th of July parade will be at the Public House on May 7th. It's a Thursday night. It'll be a cocktail party between 5:30 and 8:30 p.m., considered a Mother's Day cocktail party. Tickets are $40, and we have left a bunch of tickets at the window here in Village Hall if anybody's interested in buying them in advance of May 7th. And with that, I will say goodnight.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I should start with the algae harvester. We've actually come a long way. The outstanding issues are still that two things really, major I'd say. There is a truck that needs to be built that will carry the slurry to a repository site obviously not in the village. That has to be, we have to get the specs for that truck to be constructed. It's included in the budget of building the algae harvester, but it's obviously a very important component, and we need to get further specs on that. It seems that the only manufacturer we've been able to find that does this type of truck is in Arizona. I did speak to one of our DPW staff who said they would be willing to fly to Arizona and drive the truck across the country. But we're hoping that we can find someone that may be able to build the truck a little closer to Long Island. The other major stumbling block that we are still trying to overcome is insurance on the project. And I know that actually our village administrator has been working with our carrier to see if they would be able to help place this insurance on the algae harvester. We also are looking at hiring a project manager, Ms. Calarco, who has experience in these types of projects, who would actually help to oversee this and work with, again, Blue Cycle as we roll this out. But I would actually like to ask our administrator, as well as our attorney, who is working on agreements still, finalizing the contracts that need to get to the town, although I think we're almost finished with the town. But anyway, so maybe you'd like to.
Yeah, there certainly there was never an instance where the contracts, where we missed deadlines and the contracts had to be rolled over for a following year. It's a $10 million project. We had to wait for the results of the public referendum on a land swap. We have to work out contracts, which I'm sure our attorney can go into. We had an issue in which how this originally started. There was no competitive bidding process. So we had to go through a process to show the EPA that was an appropriate sole source provider. No one has gone out of business or stopped making the harvesters. That's not true. The same company that will be manufacturing them, the same patent holder, is still very much part of the project. In fact, he's taken over. There was a division between him and AECom, a company that decided to get out of the algae harvesting business. So Blue Cycle has then since taken over. We're very close to the finish line. I know it's been frustrating. The mayor asks me literally 2 or 3 times a day, what's taken so long, and to the point where I'm about ready to change my cell phone number. But he wants to make sure it's getting done. And I can't speak any more to that other than the fact that we're very close. There are some minor details, and I think we still need a couple of contractual things to be buttoned up.
Yeah, let's.
So the contracts are, essentially the contract with the EPA is completed. CPF, it's just waiting on the actual, both of them are actually just waiting on the contract with what'll now be Blue Cycle, but that can't be finalized until I know the insurance terms.
Right.
And the how we're going to handle the truck. The plan with respect to that had changed, and we're also trying to plan for the future after Blue Cycle is out of this and we're left operating this project. And so we want to have it set up so that we can continue to operate it.
Do you want to talk about Ms. Clark at all?
Yes. Well, first let me get back for a second. Because of the division of the two companies, a lot of the work that fell under the original company, including the design and the permitting, we're in the process of trying to get the information from them. That's been a slow-go process. Not sure why. We're getting to the bottom of it, but we do need that so we can finish it up. We have actually, because it's such a unique project, we brought someone in who is an expert or has an expertise in projects like this. Although it's actually somewhat unique to her. She's worked in other similar projects in the field. She's coming from a firm, H2M, who you're familiar with. We think that's going to help expedite the process quite a bit. It's also going to have someone, a clerk of the works, a project manager on site that's going to make sure that the whole process of installation of the machines goes quickly. Also, let me point out that the machines have to be manufactured. That does take some time, so we're in the process of working those issues out.
But the same manufacturer that was going to do them under AECom is going to do it under Blue
Exactly.
Cycle. There's a manufacturer in Alabama that will be constructing these, and then they will be trucked up here.
Yeah, same machines, same manufacturer, same everything.
So I don't want anyone to think that the village has not been working on these water quality issues. In fact, if anyone looks at my phone logs, I think this is as Scott just said. How often do we do this?
Every day.
Yeah, it's constant. It's constant. So actually, I'm a little bit offended by people that think that we're not trying to get this accomplished. We are trying to get this accomplished. The PRB is going to go into effect this coming week. And in terms of MS4, which is a requirement by the EPA that's handled by the DEC in New York State, we were out of compliance for many years. I am happy to say the village made the deadline of April 1st this year because of my directing that it was going to get done. So it really annoys me that people think we're not working on these efforts, and we are. MS4 is that you have to chart every single outflow of water from the village into bodies of water. It was a massive, massive undertaking, and we had to hire 2 people to get this done. But we made the deadline of April 1st by 3 days, and I was very pleased that we were able to get this done. But this is some of the quiet stuff that goes on in this village that people don't see, and obviously I am going to have to be able to speak more forcefully about what we are getting accomplished, because it is actually a lot. We are actually redesigning our website. Francesca, our new deputy clerk, is excellent, outstanding. We are going to have a new website later this year, and she is doing it all in-house. We are not having to pay an outside vendor, as was done previously. So that is going to be outstanding. There's so much we've done. April 2nd, I met with the state regarding the restoration of the World War I monument, because they came down and they wanted to, again, talk about the materials that would be used, part of SHPO. So I met with them. Later that day, I went up island to the Suffolk County Police Academy graduation, where I got to give the awards, or give the diplomas to our 2 new recruits, our 2 new officers who we just voted on tonight, who will be coming in this month and then full-time in May, so that we have them for this summer. And the crowds that we will have this summer, obviously, we are much in need of additional police forces. So, and on April 14th, if anyone's interested, I will be swearing those 2 officers in as our seasonal officers. On April 8th, just last night, I was at a 4th of July committee. They've raised over $100,000 now, which is excellent, but they still need more money. We are now having these other fundraisers, as was mentioned. One of the things I've been working with the Southampton Middle School on is we're going to be putting a time capsule together for the 250th anniversary of the United States. And Nick Epley at the middle school is working with me and the students there to get that done for, again, the 4th of July. This morning I met with Dina Scheffler, who is the person handling the walking tour app that the board approved. It's made excellent project. I think it's going to launch in the middle of May. It's outstanding. I think we have about 30 sites on the walking tour app right now. It really is extremely impressive. And then on the 11th of this month, I will be attending the inauguration of the new Stony Brook president, Andrea Goldsmith, who will be coming to Southampton College, and I was invited to attend her inauguration, which I'm very happy to attend. Other than that, we did have Easter last week. This Sunday is Orthodox Easter. I saw Father Alex on the street. I wished him a happy Orthodox Easter. He was very pleased about that. But there is a lot that goes on in this village, and a lot of work that goes into a lot of aspects of this village. And I just want to make sure that people get to hear about everything that does go on in their village, and how this village board is working very diligently on many, many topics, as well as our staff. Other than that, I think that is it for now, but we will, sorry.
Can I just say that I have a supplemental agenda. We didn't discuss it. We didn't adopt the sidewalk dining. We could, or we can just do it next.
Let's do it the next one.
Next month?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
yeah.
fine.
I don't like doing that at the last minute like that. Okay. So, with that being said, I think, I've gone over my notes here, I think we're going to have to adjourn to executive session to discuss some legal matters. So.
Personnel.
Personnel,
Just to be clear.
well, yes. But they're legal personnel last year. Anyway, so with that, we will adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, it's 9:28. The village board is coming out of executive session. No action was taken. I will make a motion for this meeting to be closed of the village board of trustees.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you and good night.